Hello YouTube, it's Sign here with Hobbies and Man once again, and today we're going to be doing another manga review. Today we're going to be looking at Whole Cake Island, which is the second part of the Whole Cake Island saga of One Piece. So, let's get into it. So the premise of this part of the story is that Sanji has been taken, and so Luffy and crew, or at least part of the crew, because at the end of Zou, the Alliance had to go 3 different ways, and Luffy takes Brook, Chopper, Nami, and who else? Law? And someone else with him to Whole Cake Island to go find Sanji. And everyone's going after him. Turns out they get to Whole Cake Island, and it's basically too much for Luffy and the crew. There's too many powerful people. There's too much to do. There's too many things going on. And it's a pretty difficult situation that they're in. But of course, the crew manages to pull through in the end. So it's good. It's interesting. We get to see that Sanji is going to have a situation with his family, and I'm really excited to talk about that. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't find this to be the best saga. I don't really like it as much as Dressrosa. And I definitely don't like it as much as the peak One Piece pre-time skip. I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite. I think it was a little bit too intense sometimes, even though it didn't need to be. And I also think that it was a little too long for my taste, although that could easily be due to the fact that at this point, when I finished reading this, I had already read like 200 chapters of One Piece, because I also read all of Dressrosa this past month. So maybe I was a little bit tired of One Piece. Maybe it was also that this part of the story just didn't really excite me as much, because I didn't really find Big Mom to be that great of a villain. But I think this is going to be great on a reread. I think it's pretty good right now. So it is what it is. Let's get into the plot line here. So there's a lot of stuff that happens here. This is a very jam-packed saga. And generally, I did enjoy it a lot. I thought there was a lot of good stuff. So they go on to Totland. They enter Totland. People realize that they're there. Luffy eats poisonous fish skin. After they have a little bit of a situation there with the fact that Luffy wasted all their food because he's stupid and tried to cook for them, but he's not good at cooking, which is kind of weird, because you would think that Luffy would know how to just cook meat, right? Like, he's good at that. He can survive by himself. So I don't get why he messed up all of the supplies. It was mostly a comedy gag thing, but it is what it is. I didn't dislike it. I thought it was pretty funny, but meta thinking about it makes no sense that Luffy would do this. But absurdism, One Piece, it's funny. It is what it is. And so Luffy is actually saved by Ryuji, who is part of the Germa 66, which is Sanji's weird Nazi Power Rangers family. And it's pretty interesting. She gets introduced after Yanji, who is Sanji's younger twin brother, and that guy doesn't care. And then Ryuji manages to suck the poison out of Luffy, because that is her special ability. I'm not exactly sure how they have these abilities. I don't think it's devil fruit powers, because obviously the poison fruit is Magellan's fruit, so she doesn't have that power for at all. But I think it's one of the weird things that they can do in their body, because Germa 66 was experimented on. Those kids are really weird compared to normal people, right? So it turns out Sanji's family is freaking evil, and they're weird, and they're really horrible people. But it is what it is. We move on. We get to the Cow Island, and we meet Pudding, and of course Luffy and Chopper manage to be stupid and do things that they shouldn't, and so they eat a whole place that's made of chocolate, and Pudding comes in and saves them, which is apparently a long game con, and it's pretty interesting. Jinbei shows up, and apparently the reason he couldn't join Luffy's crew originally when Luffy asked him at the end of Fishman Island is because he has other duties, and those other duties were as part of Big Mom's family, as part of her crew. And he was one of the top people, or one of the bigger, more respected members of her crew. And he talks to Big Mom. He asks her if he can leave. She says no, so he decides to just leave without her permission. And the reason is because she wanted him to sacrifice something of his in order to leave, but he realized that people were going to die if he did that, so he decided to say no for now, and then be part of the coup later. So it's pretty well done. I really like the political intrigue between Jinbei and Big Mom, but Big Mom isn't really that great of a villain for the vast majority of this part of the story. We get Pedro's background. Apparently, he set out to sea with Peckhams and some other friends of his in order to do something. I can't remember what it was that they were trying to do, but they set out as the Nox Pirates, and they learned something from Roger at one point, I think. And eventually they end up at Big Mom's place, and they have a situation that occurs, and they lose, and that's why Pedro loses an eye, and that's why he's back here to Whole Cake Island in order to kind of not really avenge himself or his people, but rather more just like serve a purpose again, because he believes that Luffy and crew are the people that they've been waiting for, the people that are going to change the world, which of course Luffy wants a One Piece. Going for the One Piece is entirely going against the world government, and so of course it makes sense that Luffy and crew would be the people that Pedro has been looking for. We enter the Seducing Woods, which is Hansel and Gretel, witchy kind of situation. It's really interesting. It's really well done. I quite like it. Sorry, there's a fly somewhere. I'm trying to swat it. And it's the classic evil dark woods of a fairy tale, and I like that a lot. It's really interesting. It turns out that most of the creatures here are actually homies, which means that they're animated objects using Big Mom's soul fruit powers. Then they enter the mirror world after a big fight, and or during a big fight, and Luffy and Nami are left outside of it because all the other people are pushed into the mirror world. And Luffy fights Cracker, who is one of Big Mom's sweet generals. He is one of the three that are left, because there used to be four, but then someone beat them, and so there's only three left. And it's Cracker, and Luffy fights him. And it's kind of funny because Luffy fights him by eating all of his biscuits, and Nami makes them soft with her rain, and then Luffy eats them. And eventually they manage to tire Cracker out enough that he sheds his armor, because he was using it as almost like a Logia fruit or something like that, which is something that a lot of Big Mom's kids do. They have paramecia fruits that they use in such a way that it basically looks and feels like they are Logia fruits, which is a really interesting kind of concept. I think it's really well done. I think even the slime guy from Dressrosa did the same thing. He would compensate with the fact that his devil fruit was a weak type and of a weak style, but he would make it powerful by using it in a very specific way, which is also what Luffy has been doing forever, right? So he battles Cracker. He manages to eat so much of Cracker's stuff that he I think he becomes one of his Gear 4 forms in order to beat him. It might have been to Katakuri. I can't remember exactly how he beats each one, but he definitely beats Cracker, and he does a really good job at it. Eventually, Luffy and Nami go to meet Sanji. They see him in a carriage as he's being taken somewhere by his family, and they have a situation. They meet up and they have a fight, actually, because Luffy's trying to get Sanji back, but Sanji is trying to protect Luffy and crew because they put some slave collar things on his wrists, and because his family threatened to kill all of his friends, and his dad Zeph, right, Crab Geezer, if he didn't go along with their plan. So he says some really shitty things to Luffy, and it's way too harsh. And Nami even slaps him. And the parts where Nami reacts to Sanji being so shitty to Luffy were so impactful, so powerful. I thought it was really well done. I was really amazed by that. And I think Oda has really been upping his game with the way he makes his female characters emote, because I don't know, post time skip, Nami's emotions have been so well thought out and so well executed that every time I see her, I'm just like, oh man, I know exactly what you're feeling and how you're feeling it, and it's really, really good. She does this like crying, like pouting, kind of like I'm so sad kind of face that's so cute, but oh man, it hurts so much to see that. And it's really, really good stuff. I really like the fight between Luffy and Sanji, because kind of like a mirror to Luffy and Usopp, and it's also exactly what Sanji told Luffy to not do: say things you can't take back. And it's really well done. I like the parallels there, really well executed. Sanji's backstory is really sad. Basically, he was part of a set of quadruplets: Ichiji, Niji, Sanji, and Yanji, and they were experimented with in the womb of his mother, because his father wanted to make these super soldiers, right? So Sanji's basically a Nazi version of Captain America or something like that, because the Germa are very much just like Third Reich looking people. So it's really interesting, and it turns out that his mother took a pill to try to undo some of that, because his father was trying to make them emotionless and messing with their DNA to add in qualities that he thought were interesting and powerful, right? So that happens, and Sanji managed to come out like a relatively normal as a human. And so compared to his brothers and to his sister, who was also experimented on, he is significantly weaker, and so he's a failure. And so his father hates him and wants to get rid of him, but through some weird, like vaguely paternal element to his dad, he actually can't bring himself to kill Sanji, even though he wants to. And so he decides to just lock him up and treat him badly. And Sanji's only interests are cooking, and he doesn't really want to hurt things because he's really empathetic, which we've seen all the time. And kind of we see why Sanji is the way he is, why he is so obsessed with food, why he's so interested in giving people food, and why he is really in love with women. Like he is obsessively like in love with women, and it's also because his mom and his sister were the only ones that were ever nice to him. And so it makes sense that Sanji then takes that, amplifies it, goes really empathic, and then becomes like the weird pervert that he is. I mean, it's still weird and it's still bad, but it makes so much sense now. It's totally like understandable. I really like his backstory. I think it's not the saddest, because I don't know, Robin is significantly sadder than any of the other Straw Hats, but it's good. I quite like it. I think it was about time that Sanji got a good part of his story, because honestly, man, post time skip, Sanji's been a piece of crap. The only shining bit was when he was with Violet in Dressrosa. Other than that, he was being pretty crap. So yeah, anyway, that happens. Then we get Brooke, and then Pudding reveals that she's a horrible person, both to Luffy and Nami, who are in a cage, and to Sanji through exposition that she tells Ryuji that Sanji overhears. There's this horrible moment of Sanji in the rain, just like seeing all of his life crumble. He thought he had to give up his friends in order to save them. He thought that he was going to be happy, or as happy as it could be, with this woman, and it turns out that this girl was just playing with him, and he's just completely crushed. And it's so sad. It's so horrible. It really, really sucks. We just get some really good emotional scenes of Sanji in the rain. Then Jinbei saves Luffy, and then we get some more battles, some more exposition, and eventually Luffy returns to the waiting spot, because he eventually realizes that Sanji is going to go get him after a conversation he has with Ryuji, because Ryuji and Sanji kind of have a heart-to-heart, also a connection. Also, she helps him out at the end of the exposition dump that Pudding gave them. So he returns to the spot. Brooke actually managed to get all of the poneglyphs, surprising everyone, which is awesome. Brooke is really a great character right now. I'm really liking him a lot. I think it's funny in a really subtle way, very different from all the other Straw Hats. He still has that really shitty panty joke, but everything else is great. I quite like that. So overall, he gets the poneglyphs. Everyone is surprised and very happy with his success. So really good stuff. Luffy and Sanji have an altercation again. Sanji had made food to give to Pudding, but it turns out that Pudding was evil, so he still has the food, but now he's going to give it to Luffy, because Luffy was hungry. He had not eaten at all since the first time that they fought, because he said that he was not going to eat any food unless Sanji made it for him, and Sanji eventually did give him food, but it was all ruined. But Luffy didn't care. He ate it all, And this parallels a situation that occurred with Sanji's mother when he was a little kid. He made her something horrible, and she ate it, and she told him that it was wonderful. And man, it's so good. The way that those two parallel each other, the way that Luffy just loves Sanji and wants to have his food, and man, it's so good. I'm gonna cry over it. It's just really well done. I love the way Oda makes you care about his characters and the way he connects them to each other so well. We get a bunch of Big Mom background story. Apparently, she was a weird kid that was just gigantic for no reason. She gets left somewhere, eventually gets picked up by this woman called Carmel, who is apparently a nun that's really badass, and she's supposed to be a really good Mother Teresa type figure, but it actually ends up being that she's actually a human trafficker. And it's really weird. We get to see that there's this situation with the giants. Apparently, Carmela set up her orphanage house in Elbaf, and then once Big Mom sees other people that are gigantic like her, she's really happy, but she's still oddly strong. Like, she's really powerful for some weird reason. There's this situation where she gets one of her first hunger pangs, and it causes her to go crazy and hurt a lot of people in Elbaf, and so she is banished. Carmel takes all of the kids with her in order to go to a new place, and eventually there's this situation where everyone makes a birthday cake for Big Mom when she's a little kid, and she accidentally eats all of her friends and her mother, and holy shit, man, it's so fucking crazy. It's really messed up. Like, it's very traumatic, but like, the background isn't enough to make Big Mom a good character, because she really is. It feels like she's underutilized here, but she is kind of also an adult with a very childlike mentality, with a very childlike outlook on life. So it kind of makes sense, but I don't know. Big Mom isn't really my favorite here. So yeah, eventually Luffy gets together with Big Gang Beige, the cool mafioso guy from South Blue, I think. I can't remember actually. He might have been North Blue as well. I don't know. And they plot a assassination attempt. Eventually, they go to the wedding. It all goes wrong. Germa is, of course, captured, because that was the point of the wedding, is to kill all of the Germa people and then take over their scientific might. And Mom gets her hunger pangs after Luffy eats all of her cake. And they go crazy. And stuff happens. They break Carmel's picture. Brooke does this, which is great. And then starts the rampage. She gets so angry, she starts fighting. Eventually, they try to take her down with these weapons that Caesar made. It doesn't work, so they have to go do something else. And so eventually, Sanji frees his family from the weird candy that they were trapped in and confronts his father. He's like, "You're not my real dad. My real dad is Seth. You're just the person that I came from. I hate you." And, they have this, altercation there. But eventually, Germa decides to help out because they owe Sanji at least that much, right? So they do that, and then everyone's on the run because Big Mom is rampaging across all of Totland, all of Whole Cake Island. And Sanji goes with Pudding and Chiffon, who is Lola's sister from, what's that one place? Thriller Bark. And they go make a very luxurious, awesome wedding cake. And I love that Sanji has to cook in his arc where, the balance of life and death is on Big Mom getting her food. And I really love that Sanji is not really the main star because he's not the one fighting, right? But his cake is just as important as Luffy beating all these other guys, or as Beige and succeeding and running to this other island, right? It's really good stuff. I like that a lot. I think it's really well done. And they do the whole thing where they fight for the cake. Eventually, they do get Big Mom to give the cake, to eat the cake and get rid of her hunger pangs, and eventually basically beat her. And then Luffy has to battle this guy Katakuri. Now, I think this story was really good. I really liked the fight, and I really liked the background for Katakuri. I thought it was really well done. I didn't really understand his devil fruit powers because it doesn't really work for me, but I really like him as a character. I think he's a really interesting opponent for Luffy, right? Because he has the mochi fruit, which apparently is a paramecia. It's a special paramecia. Who knows what that means? But he basically acts like it's a Logia. So he has like the same kind of powers as like Swamp Guy. What's his name? Caribou. So Caribou's is definitely a Logia because the swamp is basically like ugly water. So it makes sense that he would be a Logia fruit. Logia fruits can only be elemental, natural things, and so Mochi doesn't fit in this, right? You could argue that rubber does, but whatever. Rubber is also not. But apparently Katakuri's is supposed to be a better version of Luffy's Gum Gum fruit. I don't know how that works because Mochi is man-made, but it's a food, right? It's not a tool. Rubber is definitely a tool. You can do so many more things with rubber than you ever could with Mochi. So I'm not sure exactly why Katakuri's Mochi Mochi fruit is strictly better than Luffy's. But it doesn't really matter. The thing is that he uses it like a Logia, and it's really interesting. And it turns out that it's because he can actually use Haki to tell the future, and so he can actually act like a Logia by just moving his body, changing his body around punches. And so even though he acts like a Logia, he's not a Logia. So I think that was really well done. But I mean, I think Oda could have just made his rules a little bit different, and this could have fit in there just fine. So I don't know. It's whatever, right? So yeah, eventually it ends, and we also get some side stories from the fleet. My favorite ones were Bart, who was fighting Shanks's people for some reason because he's stupid. He doesn't understand the connection between them. And then Leo, the little Tontatas, because they're preparing their ship, and they have this little Uso land thing, very similar to Bart having the Luffy story, or the Luffy thing. And good stuff. I really liked it overall. And so really good stuff in terms of the plot line. In terms of characters, Sanji, of course, is the main star. The Germa 6 is a really interesting set of characters. His dad is really horrible, but he's kind of interesting. I don't really care about the brothers. Ryuichi is okay. She's not horrible, but she's still not a good character. Like, she's not a good person, right? But it would be interesting to see her again. I would be interested in having her come back into the story. Pudding was interesting. I liked the way she ended up being a villain, but also ended up being a good person in the end. I liked it. I thought it was good. Her third eye thing was really creepy, but also really interesting. I liked it a lot. Beige was a fun character, actually. I really enjoyed his powers were really cool when he goes Big Father and he, uses that tank thing. It's really awesome. I like him a lot. He's not a good person either, and I don't think his character is all that deep, but his personality and his vibes and his powers are awesome. Chiffon was good. I liked her a lot as well. Now, Zeus is a cloud with part of Big Mom's soul, and it's really good because Nami gets a power-up through him, which I like a lot. King Brahm is another homie. He's a very special evil woodsman, and it's really cool. Big Mom, of course, is an interesting character, but like I said, she was mostly just a kaiju. Like, she wasn't really a character for half of the story. Katakuri was the best character for sure. He was a really interesting character. I really liked him a lot. And the way that he's connected with Brule, and the way that, he's the way he is now because of what happened to Brule is really good. I really like that a lot. Carmel was a really interesting character. She was badass, but she was also horrible. I quite like that. Carrot and Pedro and Peckham's, just minks in general, were also really good. I liked them a lot. And so when Carrot manages to turn Sulong and uses her special powers, that's really awesome as well. I like that a lot. In terms of world building, there's so much. We get a lot of Elbath, finally. I think this is the first time we actually get to see anything in Elbath. We see that they have 2 chiefs, which is a really interesting thing. Why are there always 2 of everything in terms of the giants? The only time we only had 1 giant was when Hajirin showed up in Dressrosa. So I'm interested in that. It's really cool. The Paramecia Mochi thing was interesting. Like I said, it feels like it should have been a Logia, but it can't be because the rules state that it shouldn't be. So it is what it is. But his powers and the fact that it's awakened and so he can do a lot more stuff with it is really cool. Quite like that. Big Mom and her Soul fruit was interesting because Carmel had that fruit, and then Big Mom ate Carmel, and so now she has the fruit. So does that mean that you just have to eat the container of the fruit's powers? So if someone were to be a cannibal and eat Luffy, would they get gum fruit powers? Is that how that works? So the fruit isn't really the thing that you have to eat. It's the vessel of the power, right? So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. I hope they explain that a lot more because it'd be cool. Poneglyphs are cool. Big Mom has 2 or 3 of them for some reason. Sulong is awesome. It's basically a werewolf power, right? So it's really cool. I like that a lot. I really like that they just get more furry, but more beautiful looking. Carrot is cool. I like her a lot more now than in Zo. Luffy is basically the chosen one, right? That's basically what we kind of learn from here. I don't know exactly what led me to say that, but I wrote that in my notes. I can't exactly remember why. Because of Pedro. So Pedro says that he has a reason for being here, and he sacrifices himself because Luffy and his crew are the people that are gonna do the thing that they need them to do. So cool stuff. Germo is really interesting. They're basically like I said, the Third Reich, and they also have cloning technology. So they're like also kind of like the Emperor in Star Wars and stuff like that. So overall, I quite like them. I think they're a really interesting group of characters. So good stuff there. World building wise, there's a lot of good stuff. In terms of artwork and fan service, it's so good. The expressions on Nami this arc were amazing. Really, really good stuff. I quite liked it. It was really beautiful looking. Everything was awesome. There's just so much good stuff in this arc in terms of artwork and fan service. Fan service, there wasn't really all that much actually. I don't remember. I think there was a bath scene at one point or two, and other than that, not really too much fan service. But overall, good stuff. In terms of a ranking, it's a 4 out of 5. Like I said, I think it was a little bit too intense sometimes. Like, it didn't really need to be as intense as it was. And it's not intense in the, like, oh, God, this is so cool kind of way. More in, the characters were too harsh on each other. And I don't really feel like that was earned, if that makes sense. But also, I just feel like it was a bit too long. And it didn't really need to. Like, Big Mom didn't have to rampage for 40 chapters. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I don't know. I think it's fine. But overall, it could have been a little bit better. It's definitely shorter than Dressrosa. And I think Dressrosa could have been cut down a bit too. But I think that Oda's just having a lot of fun building his story. And so sometimes it's going to spin his wheels a little bit. And I have no problems with that. It's just not going to lead to me enjoying it as much as some of the more concise but perfect arcs that we've had so far. So yeah, I don't know. I think that Oda's sweet spot is about 50 to 70 chapters, and this one is just a tad too long for that. So it is what it is. I liked it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't perfect like some of the other arcs I've read before. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Whole Cake Island. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.